Hi everyone, and welcome back to the fifth session based on my book Beyond Asanas. I'm taking an asana every day, a chapter from the book every day, and sort of deconstructing it for readers and for followers. So if you have not read my book yet, it's still available on Amazon, and I highly urge you to read it because it has some amazing stories, mythological stories that are related to yogasanas. And today the story that we're going to be looking at is from chapter 5 of the book. Now, chapter 5 of the book is called Ardha Chandrasana. And the interesting thing about this chapter is that it's about, Ardha means half. And Ardha Chandrasana is the half moon pose. And the interesting thing, or the ironic, or sort of the contradictory thing is that although yoga is a practice where we talk about being in balance, it's a practice of completeness, of finding your wholesomeness. There are many postures in yoga which are half, and we will see the symbolism of why even this half posture is important in mythology and yoga practice. And to explain the Ardha Chandrasana, I've used two stories. And the first one, it's called Churning of the Ocean. And many of you who are interested in Hindu mythology, you would immediately have a recall of the Samudra Manthan. Okay, so churning of the ocean always brings in this image of the ocean actually being churned. And what happens when things get churned, when this sort of centrifugal force is applied on anything, is that things tend to rise up. And in the Samudra Manthan, what we wanted to rise up was the Amrit, or the nectar of immortality, which is what the gods were looking for. However, whenever there is anything like this, whenever you choose to do an action, you cannot really control the effect of what's going to happen, the impact of the action. So here what happened is, even though the gods were looking for the nectar of immortality, what ended up happening was this very, very strong poison also came up. This strong poison is called hala. So this poison also came up. And it was very toxic, and there were a lot of fumes associated with the poison, and everybody was getting impacted, like all the gods, the devas, the half gods. Everyone was inhaling these fumes, and it was very uncomfortable for everybody, and people were going to die. And so when this happens, the only person who could actually counteract this poison was Shiva. And Shiva saw, what's happening, and, he didn't have too much time to think because the poison was so strong, it was killing everybody. So he decided to inhale the poison. So he didn't think much about it, and he just said, okay, I'm just going to inhale all this poison, and, then everybody else will be saved. And so he does. He inhales this poison, and there's a story where Parvati holds his neck so that the poison doesn't go into his body. So he doesn't actually end up swallowing the poison. He just holds it in his neck, which also is an example of why Shiva, we call him the Adi Yogi. It requires a great amount of body control to be able to do this. And so he does this, and what happens is that the poison is so strong that it starts to burn his skin, and he becomes hot all over, and it starts to burn his skin. And then people don't know what to do, because he is Lord Shiva. If he cannot handle the poison, then who can? There's nobody who can save them. So at this time, the moon Chandra was observing what's happening. And he said, okay, he saw an opportunity where he could be of use. So he decided to come down and sit on Shiva's head, on his if you see his dreadlocks, to sit there and actually provide him with the coolness, which would be an antidote to the heat that the poison had given him. And so even today, if you look at imagery of Shiva, at photos of Shiva, you'll see that there's a moon on his dreadlocks. And that's basically sort of like counteracting the heat that this poison generated in his body. And in yoga, we have, we work on balancing the nadis also. We work on balancing the right side and the left side of the body. And these two sides of the body, we believe, are related to different nadis, the Ida nadi and the Pingala nadi. And if you know that the Ida nadi is related to like the feminine part of your body, the more cool part of your body, then you also know that it's called the Chandra nadi, so it's actually related to that. So you can see the yoga connection there, where the Chandra is related to the coolness, and it's a feminine energy, a cooling energy, more peaceful energy, and that is the energy that sort of counteracted the heat that was being produced in Shiva's body. So even today, Shiva is called Chandrasekhar because of this, because he has this, the moon on his the dreadlocks. So that is the first story that we have. Now the second story is also related to the moon, Ardha Chandrasana, so it's also related to the moon. And it's actually called An Angry Moon. So here is the book again, for those of you just joining. Here is the book. And this is the chapter that I'm reading from. And the second story is called An Angry Moon. And legend has it that the moon did not always wax and wane. Okay, there was a point in time when the moon was constantly, full, and it would shine like that the whole night. And what happened is one day Ganesh was returning home from a feast, and now Ganesh is known to have a very big appetite and to appreciate food, good food. And so he had eaten a lot, in this feast, and he was on his mount. His mount is a rat called Croucha. And those of you who practice yoga, crouch asana. So it's actually related to his, the mount that he has, the rat that he rides on. And he's sort of like riding along in the moonlight. He's riding along on his mount, and there's a snake that slithers in front of the rat that he's riding, and it's unexpected, and the rat sort of rears back because he feels that he's just shocked and surprised. And when that happens, then Ganesh sort of loses his balance and he falls. And when he falls, then his stomach kind of bursts open, and everything that was inside his stomach, it just spills out because his stomach breaks. It sort of ruptures and everything spills out, which is not that great if you visualize it, but that's what happened. And then Ganesh takes all of these food items because he doesn't want to waste them. So he takes these and then he puts them back into his stomach, closes the stomach, and takes that snake that had slithered past, and he ties that snake like a belt around his stomach so that the stomach can contain all that food. Now the moon is observing all of this, and the moon finds it very funny and starts to laugh. And Ganesh is not really known for his immaturity, In fact, he is very young, and he sort of feels insulted when the moon starts to laugh at him. And in his anger and in this emotional state that he's in, he takes one of his tusks. And again, if you look at Ganesh imagery, you'll see that there's only one tusk. The other one, it's broken. So this legend, this story sort of explains why that is. So he's taken his tusk, and he throws it at the moon, and the moon, which was before like round and silver and unmarked and clean and pristine, he ends up marking the moon. And then he tells the moon, and he curses the moon, and he says that you are ugly now, I've made you ugly, and now you will never shine, and you have to be hidden from everybody, and because nobody wants to look at something that is so ugly. So that's what I've done to you because you laughed at me. And so that's what happens. Like the moon has been cursed, so he cannot come out now. He cannot shine in the night. And so that happens for a couple of weeks. The sun is out 24 hours a day. And what happens then is that because the sun is so strong and bright, the water starts drying up. Much like what's happening these days in India, like the water starts drying up. There's a water problem. The plants don't get enough water, so the plants start withering away. And people don't get enough rest because when the sunlight is out all the time, you can't sleep. So everybody's irritable. The ecosystem of the earth is, goes for a toss. So we've seen this in our legends also. Even in Indian mythology, in the legends, there's a great amount of emphasis that's given on balance. And just like today, we're sort of working on trying to fix what we have, we've put off balance. In our legends, our mythology shows, beforehand, what happens when you let the world kind of exist in a state of imbalance. So this is what happened. The entire ecosystem started to suffer when the moon did not come out. And so when this happened, the gods were concerned, and they said, okay, what should we do now? There has to be some solution to this. And they say that, Ganesh, you have to recall this curse. You cannot let the world exist like this. This is not how things can happen. So, the gods unanimously tell Ganesh, look, recall the curse. This cannot go on. And Ganesh, he's still that immature kid that he was before, but he does understand the seriousness of the issue. And because the curse cannot be recalled, he says he's going to modify the curse. And what he does is, he tells the moon that, okay, you can come out, but you cannot come out in your full glory. That you can do only once or twice a month. For the remaining days, you're either going to be getting smaller and smaller, and once you're tiny, then you will not shine for a day or two. And then in the next phase of the month, you will start to get bigger again until you're full. Then 1 or 2 days is a full moon. And then again, you're going to start to wane. So waxing and waning of the moon started to happen. And this is the legend of how it started to happen. And we believe initially the moon would shine, was a round disc, silver, very beautiful. And then this is how the moon got the scars on its face, and why the moon waxes and wanes throughout the month. And to read the stories in detail, like, you'll have to just go through the book. But I also in the book talk about the significance and symbolisms of these myths, because that's how we can understand how our yogasanas are actually directly related to how we live our lives, and how they haven't, why they're important to yoga practitioners, why it's important for us to know as yogis, to know the myths. So the first significance and symbolism of these two stories is that the ecosystem is important. Like, the environment is important for us to be able to live a healthy, successful, happy life. We have to make sure that everything around us is in balance, because if that's not in balance, then that also affects you. So you have to make sure, we have to strive to have some sort of balance, not only in our minds and in our bodies, but also in our environment. So balance is important. And in the book, I have these small squares where I've actually written down the important points. So I'll just read out the first one. So it goes, for us to thrive just like the earth is thriving, we need to glean wisdom from the bad times. Then we need to use the power of this wisdom when we feel things are going smoothly for us. Yeah, so exactly. So this is exactly, what this whole, these lives are all about. If we can understand the significance and the symbolism in the mythology behind the yogasanas, then we can practice the yogasanas in a broader way, not just on the mat, but also how we live life. So we can get a greater understanding of why we live, how we live, and why things happen the way they do. Now, the second significant thing in the book is, it says that yoga seeks to teach the practitioner to appreciate what exists. As beautiful as the bright full moon is, the delicate sliver of the moon towards the end of its cycle is also beautiful. Rather than living in the past or in the perceived future, practitioners are encouraged to make peace with the present and to enjoy whatever it has to offer. Now, this relates back to the downward dog, the symbolism of the downward dog, the symbolism of trikonasana as well. To live in the present moment, but to be cognizant of where you were, to be cognizant of the past, and to ensure that you are firmly rooted in the past and the present if you want to go ahead to the future. So that is the significance of Ardha Chandrasana. Although it's an Ardha Asana, like a half asana, it can really tell you a lot about the wholesomeness of life and the importance of balance and living a complete life. So that is it for today. If you have any questions about the stories in the book, let me know. Every day this week, I'm going to try to actually access the behind the scenes photos that we've taken for this book. This book is full of amazing photos taken in Hampi. They're amazing colored photographs of the yoga asanas in Hampi. So if you have any questions about these yogasanas, about the locations, about Hampi, let me know. And I'm going to be sharing a few pictures every day. I'm looking through my old photographs. I'm going to be sharing those photos, the behind the scenes photos, just that you can get a feel for what it was like to put this book together. And I'm doing this because this book was published on Yoga Day in 2019. And I'm just revisiting it as a tribute for Yoga Day 2024. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you tomorrow for chapter 6 of Beyond Asanas. And here's the book again. Thank you guys. Bye.